let's see the Jay-Z accuser situation, right? So
Mm,
I've watched it a number of times. Right?
yourself.
I've watched this interview on MSNBC at times. I've probably watched it 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times. um, so I kind of have an idea of, what it is that she's gonna say, and I could show you guys step by step a lot of the things that she's saying and the inaccuracies in what it is that she's saying and what's going on with reality. But listen to this.
And be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long, what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000, a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
All right, listen to what the lady just asked her. She asked her, wasn't afraid to be alone. Now, I want you guys to kind of listen to what her response is, right? This is cryptic reasoning. Like, listen, we're going to view this from all angles, right? But we got to go off of what it is that she's saying. We could only go off of what it is that she's saying. We were not there. So what is it that she has to say? All right. You weren't scared. So she was asked, you weren't scared. Now, listen to her response to that question.
Having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to
So listen to her response, right? So everyone experiences autism in different ways. Now, I'm not here to diagnose somebody or undiagnose them or whatever it is, right? Like, people experience the world in different ways, right? There's various different people that have various different conditions, whether it be mental conditions, physical conditions, health conditions, whatever it is. No two people are going to describe their experience with having autism the same exact way. This is her experience. We can go off of what it is that she's saying about her experience. But think about it. Think about it. She said it's like having autism, it's like being trapped inside of a ball. The ball's on fire. The fire is inside the ball. So the fire is inside the ball, and there's no way for her to get out. Right? So she said this is associated with her having autism. She didn't say it's because of experiences that she's had. By default, because she has autism, according to her words, this is how she experienced the world. So if you kind of break that down and decipher that sounds like an individual who's trapped inside of a ball, like going off of her words, trapped, and her world is on fire, but she cannot escape that fire. So she's trapped. This sounds like an individual who's somewhat troubled. Based on what it is that she said, we're not going off of anything else. We're not making anything up. This sounds like somebody who is troubled. This sounds like somebody who needs help. This sounds like somebody who should have been helped a very, very long time ago. This is what it sounds like. But let's move on. Let's actually continue, right? Because again, this is cryptic. We're just going off of what it is that she's saying. We're not going to make up anything. We're not going to try to divert anything. No. What is it that she said? This is what she said. This is what the accuser is saying. Let's listen to the evidence of what it is that she's saying, and then let's go from there. So let's listen.
Having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan.
Look at this. Rochester, New York, Manhattan. Look at that map right there. Rochester, New York. I don't think you guys understand how far this is, right? I know anybody who's been watching this my channel for a while, you guys know that I go upstate a lot, right? I go upstate a lot. What I call upstate, it's like in this region right here, bro. Like, I'll be honest with you. It's like in this region right here. This is upstate for me. You understand what I'm saying? People from Rochester don't even consider this upstate. It take you like an hour, 2 hours to get here. Some of these places that's like just right off here, right? 5 hours from here to New York City, in excess of 5 hours. And then think back, this is the early 2000s. This is the year 2000. So think about the year 2000. You weren't picking up your phone and just typing it into your phone to be like, all right, cool, I'm going to Manhattan, boom. And it just plots out a route, finds you all the routes. You could avoid the tolls, all of that sort of stuff. No pit stops, tells you where the traffic is and all of that sort of stuff. No. So it's not going to be a straight shot in 2000. It's not. 2000, you got to read signs. Oh, I got to turn there. You might have to even buy a map. Most people was buying maps back then. Some people had GPSs. Everybody didn't have GPSs back then. Most people didn't have GPSs back then. This is the year 2000. This is 25 years ago. Right? So let's go. Let's continue.
A more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy.
And look, I'm not saying people don't pass on. But that in itself, to me, that's a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, friend, all right, cool. You know, that's not out of the norm or out of the ordinary. It could be that the friend actually really did pass on. Not saying that the friend did or didn't pass on or whatever it is, but could it be one of those cases where it's like, oh, you just tell them the name of a friend and that friend just happened to not be here anymore? Right? I don't know.
Diddy's driver who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
So listen to her words.
Stumbled upon Diddy.
She spoke to Combs's limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver who told
Stumbled upon Diddy's driver. So she left there. She left from Rochester and she got to Manhattan and just stumbled across Diddy's driver. Just stumbled across Diddy's driver. Okay. Maybe. It's possible. Things do, I guess, align like that sometimes. I don't know. Maybe.
told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
Okay, so we're going to stop it right there. Benji Madden and his brother. So Benji Madden and his brother were a part of this group called Good Charlotte, right? Right? So they were a part of this group called Good Charlotte. And we're going to take a look because MTV VMAs, right? I looked it up. The MTV VMAs of that year happened on September the 7th. Kind of looking at the evidence and everything that it is that she's saying, when you kind of line it up with what's happening in reality, it's like, hold on. Well, these things are not really adding up. And we want to take your allegations very seriously because regardless of how we feel about whomever, anybody that's doing these things to children, I don't have any empathy or sympathy for, deserves whatever it is that's coming to them. Regardless of how much I like your music, regardless of how much your movies are great, regardless of whoever it is that you are, it does not matter. So because of how serious these allegations are, right, we're going to kind of give you the benefit of the doubt, but hold on, time out. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt for some things. But if we find out that you're lying, that's not good. Then should the consequences that were given to him be given to you at this point? All right, cool. So we just established where Good Charlotte was. So Good Charlotte, September 7th, was not there. Good Charlotte on September 7th was in Chicago, Illinois, right? Which is a 12-hour. I think Thrifty, you remember, I went to Chicago in September, which is crazy, right? Because in September, that's where I was this year, September of this year. I went to Chicago. Of course, September 2000, I was a child, right? I was even younger than she was. But in September of this year, this is where I was. I was actually in Chicago. I think Thrifty, if you remember, I kind of did some streams over there when I was in Chicago as well. Beautiful, beautiful city. Love Chicago. But Chicago is an even further drive. Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, if you were to drive to Chicago straight, it would take you 12 hours and change. It didn't take me 12 hours. It probably took me like 18, maybe 20, something like that, because I did stop a few times. I stopped over in Cleveland. I stopped over in Akron. I did a number of different stops. So, and I rested a few times. So it's not close. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Chicago and New York, they ain't close like that. You know what I mean?
To a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, you know, I have about his tattoo that's...
Here's my thing. So she's implementing people into this situation that, based on the evidence, were not involved in the situation. That's a problem. We just established that Benji Madden and his brother were having a tour over there in the Midwest. Now you're implementing them in something, saying that you were actually having a conversation. You mean to tell me that Benji Madden didn't say, hey, hold on, what's this little girl doing here? What is she doing here? What's going on here? What kind of party is this? So you see how she's putting smut on people's name indirectly? You see how the smut is other people's name is being smutted indirectly? And whether this be something where it's like she can't really decipher who, but she in detail was talking about a tattoo that this individual has. She's going in detail, speaking about a tattoo and speaking as if this is an event that actually took place. This is what it is that she's saying. So you see how you get to the point where it's like, okay, I really want to hear you out. Honestly, I do. But once we get to this point, it's like, what exactly is going on here? Is this one of those cases where the ball that's on fire, where the fire is trapped in the ball, is it something where you're trying to let the fire out so that you could ignite other people's world? Is this one of those things where maybe she's unconsciously, maybe it's not something where she's deliberately doing this, but she's unconsciously affecting other people's lives in a negative way because of the trouble that she's facing, that she says that she's been facing, in how she described how her mind is. Well, let's listen further.
It's the Last Supper because, you know, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So it was just that's to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in.
Okay. So now she went from that, and then, right, she just was speaking about Madden, and we confirmed that Madden wasn't there and everything like that, right? We just confirmed that the Maddens were in the Midwest. And even if the Maddens were there, the Maddens should have been alerting the situation like, hold on, this kid should not be here. But we've confirmed that the Maddens were just not there. All right. So now she goes into this, and then she kind of goes into she starts to kind of talking about the situation. So now, do we dismiss the inaccuracies that have taken place to this point? Do we dismiss the things that she's been taking to this point and just have a clean slate and say, okay, all right, cool. She's not lying now. Now she's telling the truth. Everything else is false. But this part right here, this is where the truth is. Everything else she's saying is a lie, but this part right here is definitely true. You see how it's not definite? You see how it's not concrete? You see how it sort of has some sort of Emmett Till sort of vibe to it? You get what it is that I'm saying? So it's not like the academic situation where everything is just right out there. It's like there's nothing that you could say to us because we know, we can confirm, you have confirmed, the kid has confirmed, everybody involved has confirmed. So we know exactly what it is that happened there. Well, in terms of the conversation, we know what's happening there. Here, we're listening to the person describing the story. We're checking the receipts and we're like, hold on. Well, this don't add up. This don't add up neither. This don't add up. Oh, now this is the part that's true. Oh, okay. But everything else is just conveniently inaccurate except this part. Oh, this is the part that's the truth part. So when Beanie Siegel kind of broke it down, and Beanie Siegel spoke about this, and Beanie Siegel said, there's people who want it to be true. So despite everything else that's happening, look, I'm not here to defend anybody. I don't know what these people do behind the scenes. I don't know how they live their life behind the dark. I can appreciate the art. I can appreciate the music. So this isn't me swearing for anybody. Of course, I don't want to believe that Hov has been or Jay-Z's been involved in any of these situations. Of course, I don't want to believe that. But if the evidence tells me that this is what it is that's happening, I have no choice but to believe that that's what's happening. And at that point, whatever consequences comes to him is a result of the seeds that he's planted. However, when we're looking at this objectively, not based on hearsay, not based on people who have an agenda, not based on people who want to make content, not based on people who want this to be true, but based on the evidence, based on what it is that she's saying, well, hold on. Let's take several back seats right here because most of the things that you're saying up until this point sounds like a fantasy. And when we confirm it with actual reality, it doesn't seem as if these things are true. But this part, oh, this is the part that's true. Is it true because people want it to be true? Or is it true that because it actually happened? I don't know. Do you? Let's listen to it.
And rapes me. JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home.
Boom. So now she's left the situation. She ran to a gas station. She found a phone. She called her father. What I want to know is between the time and the time that you had to wait, why did the gas station clerk not get on the phone, call 911, and tell them, hey, listen, come get this girl. She looks traumatized. There's something happening right here. I need you guys to come get, she looks like she's young. I need you guys to come investigate and see what it is that's happening here. Because you went to a gas station. Nobody saw you at that gas station. Nobody saw you at that gas station in New York City. In New York City. Nobody saw you at that gas station. Nobody thought, oh, call 911. Look, I've been in the city before. I saw somebody bleeding out on the ground. You know what I did? It ain't got nothing to do with this. Call 911 so they could come get this guy up off the ground. He's bleeding from his ear. All type of stuff is going on. 911, hey, look, there's somebody here on the ground. There's something happened to him. It looks like something happened. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but you know, he's holding his neck or whatever, wherever it was. But things were happening. They came, they did what it is that they needed to do. That situation had nothing to do with me. Right? So you mean to tell me nobody who saw this young lady got on the phone and called 911 and said, hey, there's this girl here. She looks like something happened. Obviously, something traumatic happened with this girl. She's here without her parents. It's what? 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. It's this little girl at this gas station. I think you guys need to come down here and come find out what it is that's happening. A 5-hour waiting period. Again, remind you, minimum 5 hours because this is the year 2000. There was no GPS. Everybody wasn't riding around with GPSs. And if you lived in Rochester, unless you know the route to get to New York, which would probably only be like a truck driver or somebody who is in that sort of industry, it's going to take you some time to get to New York City. Now, once you get to New York City, right? Now you got to find the exact gas station in New York City. Where you come from the country, which Rochester is not New York City. Trust me, I've been to Rochester. It ain't New York City. Not exactly country, but it's country. Right? And then you come to New York City, and now you have to find a gas station. Was it 106th Street, 42nd Street? Is it Lenox Avenue? Is it Times Square? Is it Soho? You know, where exactly are we going? So now you have to locate the gas station, right? So now let's continue. Let's listen into what it is that she's saying, right? This is why, for me, this is why I got to use reasoning. This is why this channel is called Cryptic Reasoning, because we are going to decipher what it is that's happening here in real time. We're going to break it down. We're going to just look at it from all different angles, and we're going to see what it is, right? Because people tend to allow people to gaslight them into believing what it is that they don't believe. Listening to this story, this, you have to be more objective with this. Regardless of how you feel about a man, if he did something, he reaps what he sows. If he didn't do something, don't put that on that man. Do not put that on that man if he didn't do it. If he did it, that's a different story. Let's listen in.
I'm in silence. She didn't ask me what happened. It cut the
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father.
She had to wait minimum 5 hours. Nobody called the cops. They could take this little girl and come get this little girl some help. Nobody. She didn't say, hey, I need help. Nothing. Just ran to the gas station and called her father. Nothing in between. Okay.
Father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. She didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
Now she's putting smut on her father's name. On behalf of every father that's out there, I'm not going to say everybody's a good father. I'm not going to say every father is present in his child's life. Like, I would be naive to say that. There's some fathers out there that are just absent. There's some fathers out there that don't care. But if you have a father that's willing to drive 5 hours to leave Rochester, New York, to come pick up his daughter somewhere in Manhattan, which is going to take hours. We're saying 5 hours minimum, right? We don't know how long it took. She got to stay awake. It's early in the morning. She ain't had no sleep. All of that. So now he has to get in his car, drive all the way from Rochester. Wait, remember, I showed you guys the map. You guys know how far this is. Way down to New York City. Once he gets to New York City, you mean to tell me he's not going to say, girl, what the hell is you doing down here? What in the hell are you doing down here? Why do you look like that? What happened to you? Who were you with? Who took you here? You ain't asked no questions. So she put the Maddens on the scene. We understand the Maddens weren't there. Literally, we just looked at the tour dates and we seen that on September the 7th, the Maddens were in Chicago, which we have confirmed, and I have driven from New York City to Chicago and back. So I know how long it takes to go from New York City to Chicago. But they were on tour in the Midwest, and you see that September 6th, they were in Milwaukee. September 5th, they were somewhere else in the Midwest. So we see all of that. But now, confirm that Benji Madden, the Maddens were not there, the tattoo, none of that happened. But now the father drove 5 hours and he came and he didn't ask no questions. So you put smut on Benji Madden's name. And now you're putting smut on your father's name. That would be he drove there. Fair enough. He drove there. But that would have to be the worst type of father in the world, to see that something is off about his daughter and not ask any questions. So this is exactly what it is that I'm talking about in terms of when we look at the situation and we look at it objectively and we look at it from all angles, it's like, hold on, wait a second. Wait, hold on. Wait, what? He didn't ask you any questions. He just drove there and just drove you back in silence. He got to drive 10 hours and he didn't say nothing to you. He didn't ask you, did you eat? You didn't eat nothing? Nothing? Didn't bring you any food, no snacks, nothing? Didn't say your mom is worried sick about you? Nothing? Your grandma's asking where you've been? Nothing? Nothing happened in between that time, according to her. And this is according to her. According to her, no questions were asked. The father just drove back in silence. Listen again.
She called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said.
Look, you're going to remember driving a 10-hour minimum round trip to pick up your daughter, no matter what it is that happens in your life from that point. You're going to remember that situation. That's something that sticks with you. The anxiety of having to drive, right? To go pick up your daughter from so far away, hoping that she's going to be okay, just to drive and then pick her up and just the release, just the, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Where have you been? What's been happening? What's going on? This is something you would remember. So if you want me to join in on a witch hunt, I just won't. This is the evidence. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the evidence that we're working with. From the person that is putting out this lawsuit. Inspired by Basquiat, my chariot's on fire. Everybody take shots, hit my body up, I'm tired. Build me up, break me down. Build me up again. They like, Hov, we need you back so we can. Right? They won't stop till you a ghost to them. We just went right over this song. We looked at this whole song. Media meddles. People sue you, you settle. Every step you take, they remind you you ghetto. I wonder if you guys are really decoding the cryptic where this is concerned. Don't just sit up here and just take these things as face value just because people said something or put smut on somebody's name. That doesn't always mean that it's true. So we're contrasting what it is that transpired with the academic situation, and we're looking at what happened with the Jay-Z situation. We're looking at two completely separate situations, completely different. One has nothing to do with the other. However, in one case, we have evidence. We even have confessions. On another case, when we look at the evidence, we compare that evidence of someone who's trapped in a ball, and the ball is on fire, and the fire is inside that ball. Someone who's troubled. For better or worse, she needs help. She does. It's clear as day. Somebody neglected that young lady. But when we look at what it is that she's saying, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at the evidence, it doesn't look too realistic. So get back to what it is that the father said.
He could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, being chastised by their fans.
All right, Chloe Malas joining us now live. Chloe, we just heard a very...
Okay, so that's that. So everybody's gonna have their own sort of takeaway from that situation. People are gonna feel how it is that they feel. There's people that already don't like Jay-Z. You know what I mean? There's something called karmic debt. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how it's going to turn out, right? This situation. But as far as the evidence is concerned, when I look at the evidence and I look at it as objectively as I possibly can, and I look at it and I think about it and I compare and I just look at everything. It's like, hold on. Nah, there's something going on right here. There's something kind of off about this situation. Everything doesn't add up. It just doesn't. Right? So there's people that's dragging Jay-Z all over the media. There's people dragging Jay-Z all over the media, all over social media, everywhere, before he even had a day in court in regards to the situation. And typically, media meddles, people sue you, you settle. Typically, what would happen in this case like this is he more than likely would have settled. But because he knows that this didn't happen, and because this ties him in with Diddy, who that's just a completely different case. Are there some cases where people are trying to get money out of it? Yes. Are some of these things that are happening, are some of them true? Yes, I believe so. Right? These are allegations as of right now. I haven't looked over all of the evidence. Diddy's different. This ain't about him. This connects them together. So of course he's going to defend himself. And then people talk about him and Diddy being friends. Maybe. I've seen them together. I may have assumed that they were friends as well. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if Jay-Z really has friends, to be honest with you. I don't think he necessarily has friends. I think Jay-Z has business associates. I think the friends that he actually really has are people that he came up with, like a Emery or a Memphis Bleak. I think those are some of his day ones. But I think as far as everything else goes, it's like, oh, you're a mogul. I'm a mogul. You're a multimillionaire / billionaire maybe one day. I'm a multimillionaire / maybe billionaire one day. We have something in common. You're from New York, a different borough. I'm from Brooklyn. Right? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's go ahead. Let's hang out. Let's buy some cars. Let's do this. Let's do that. Right. You know what I mean? People who do business tend to associate with other business people that are in their field. That does not necessarily mean that these people are tied in together 24/7. Even if you see them at events together, that doesn't mean that because they were at the same event together, that they were involved in doing the same things. If you guys don't know, people might invite you out for a business meeting. You guys may go to a restaurant, dress up, take some pictures, take some photos, whatever it is, maybe go on a yacht, whatever, right? Not entirely sure. I'm not saying that this is exactly what it is that they're doing, but people do these things. This is what people in that world do. Doesn't mean everybody was involved in all of the same things. So I think people should just be objective about what it is, especially when it comes to putting certain things on people's names. Am I going to sit up here and say Jay-Z is innocent in everything? No, I'm not. Right? But I think in terms of being the most focused rapper of all time, I don't think there was ever a rapper as focused as Jay-Z. And being somebody who's listened to Jay-Z for a very long time, since I was a child listening to Jay-Z, all of the things that he was saying that he was going to do, he actually did. He exceeded the goals that he set. Life is really just a beach chair for this individual. But of course, there are people who want to see him sink. Is Jay-Z perfect? No. Jay-Z's admitted to doing some things that were very, very bad back in the day when he felt like his back was against the wall and he had to hit the streets. Right? People could relate to that. I'm not here to say that it's right or wrong, but when you're trying to survive, people may try to survive in different ways. I'm not going to sit up here and just judge somebody for that. Is it wrong? Come on. I think we all know the answer to that. But I think people just want to just watch that whole thing just crumble. People just want to kind of just drag you back there. And again, it's to have had and lost better than not having at all. So I asked the question, is to have had and lost better than not having at all? And it seems as if 67% of people have said yes. To have had and lost is better than not having at all. Okay. I ain't mad at that. But yeah, that's the reason why when I compare the Jay-Z situation and I compare the academic situation, people might think, oh, no, the two situations are not the same to me. They're just not. If you're going to call somebody that, show me the evidence, right? And then we'll go from there. But if the evidence is like this, I wasn't there. So I can't just be like, oh, yeah, that's you did it just because somebody said you did it. No, people lie. People lie. People lie. Have you ever been lied on? Maybe not to that degree. Maybe somebody doesn't put this smart on your name, but people have lied before. People have lied on some of you before. Probably not to this degree. Again, maybe somebody didn't say you did this, but people have lied on you before. I'm sure of it. Anyway, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. What's happening with Jay-Z? And we've heard it a number of times throughout various different songs throughout the years, right? And unless you're somebody that really listens to his music and really listens to the words of his music, you won't really understand what it is that I'm saying, right? But a point of reference, right? We're going to do Most King's lyrics, right? And this is precisely what it is that I'm talking about when we're talking about deciphering something in art, somewhat imitating reality, right? But listen to the lyrics of this song, and then we can kind of look at the parallels between this song and what's going on right now in Jay-Z's life, right? Inspired by Basquiat, my chariot's on fire. Everybody took shots, hit my body up, I'm tired. Build me up, break me down, build me up again. They like, Hov, we need you back so we can, with the same sword they knight you, they gon' good night you with. That's only half if they like you. That ain't even a half of what they might do. Don't believe me? Ask Michael. See Martin, see Malcolm. See Biggie, see Pac, see success and its outcome. See Jesus, see Judas. See Caesar, see Brutus, see success is like, we're not going to say that word. He succeed, prepare to be crucified. Medium medals, N-words, sue you, you settle. Every step you take, they remind you ghetto. This is exactly what it is that we're talking about. People sue you, you settle. It's not an admission of guilt or denying guilt. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, cool. This person brings up a case. All right, I don't necessarily know this person, or, I don't have the time to really sit here and fight this case because I have, think about it. Think about it. So you got to sit and fight this case for months, maybe years. You don't know when they're going to come and call you to go for this case, right? You get to the point where you're like, man, I can't afford to do that because, right, I'm going to be making $50 million over the next 3 months, right? I can't. All right, cool. You know what? Make this go away, right? Now, you decide, all right, cool. I'm going to put up the 100,000. So just go away. It's not an admission of guilt. It's just get this out of here. I don't have time for this. I got other things that I need to do. Right? So when I kind of sit and I listen to a lot of the things that did happen in regards to the Jay-Z situation, and this isn't the first time that he's spoken about these things, right? This is just one song, right? This is just one song. And let's finish since we already started, right? When you succeed, prepare to be, yeah. Okay, we got that part. And settle every step you take, they remind you ghetto. So it's tough being Bobby Brown. To be Bobby then, you got to be Bobby now. Now, the question is to have had and lost better than not having at all? Think about that. Are they now back in square one? Do you now live your life as if you've never had it, but constantly being reminded that, yes, there was a point when you were, figuratively speaking, on top of the world, certainly from your perspective. And what did you do then? Did you deceive yourself, like Nas said, and let your ego swell and disregard those that most need your help? Let's talk about these songs and let's look at the parallels between art and reality and how art relates to reality. Everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? So, all right, I didn't finish comparing the stuff to have had and lost, better than not having at all. So now that's a question that you ask yourself, right? Again, let's get back to this before we go any further. Is to have had and lost better than not having at all? So if you've never experienced that, you don't know what it feels like to have ever been to reach those heights. So now, because you haven't reached those heights, right? There's still a part of you that wishes, and maybe you get to the point where you're like, yo, you know what? Whatever. I'm content. I'm good. I don't even have to, right? Maybe you get to that point where you're just dismissive of it. And maybe you are able to find some level of happiness without that high life or without attaining those things that you think that you wanted at some point. But then you won't have to go through the ups and downs of being sued. But certainly in other cases, when people are being sued, right, especially for things that they haven't done or people that they don't even know, but then they have to settle, it's like another thing, and then another thing piled on another thing. And it's like, damn, man, I got to get away from this, because people tend to look at it from one perspective, thinking those people have everything that it is that they want. Everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams. You see the elements that are being used here. You see the metaphors and the symbolism. You see how it's not exactly what it is. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? This isn't you. This is your dreams, right? But it's like he brought your dreams in human form in a way where you could visualize it from the physical dimension. So it's like, everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You're laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? Figuratively speaking, laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams. Or you're Malcolm X'd out, get distracted by screams. Everybody get your hand out my jeans. Everybody look at you strange, say you changed. Like you worked that hard to stay the same. The game stays the same. The name changes, so it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. So it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. Look at what it is, and look at how art imitates reality. So when Jay-Z was speaking on other songs saying that fame was the worst drug known to man, right? Here he's telling you it's best for you not to overdose on being famous. And even though Jay-Z has acquired this level of fame, you've seen where it's like he's kind of off into the sun. He's not always in the limelight. He's not always doing interviews. He just wants to. I think he was more in it for the money than he was for the fame. But I think the fame was just a part of it to kind of give him self-confidence. Right? But that's my perspective. I could be wrong. Everybody look at you strange, say you change. Like you work that hard to stay the same. Game stays the same. The name changes, so it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. Art imitating reality. This is exactly what it is that we're talking about here.